Just start.
Welcome to Easy English by Eddie Singh, and today we are going to explore one of the lessons from class 9, that is Moments. A House is Not a Home by Jan Gaudioso. Now, this story, you may ask Muskan, sir, what is this story about?
What is this story about?
Well, this story is about the teenage trauma and anxieties. The author is a teenager. She is facing anxieties and problems as she had met a tragedy in her life, and the tragedy that her house has been burned to ashes in a fire, and she has to shift to some new place, understand?
Yes, sir.
So how, I mean, the family members or how the relatives and friends in the new school, how her friends help her to overcome the difficulties. And so this story also narrates the role of family and friends. Family and
Friends.
friends. Let us see what happens in the story. Now, in this story, the author, being a teenager, experiences a trauma in her life. Ask, what was the trauma, sir?
Sir, what was the trauma?
She faced difficulty adjusting with the new surroundings. She was quite lonely as she was shifted to a new high school. She didn't know many people over there. She was at a loss. And at the new school, she missed her old teachers, old friends, and old students. She missed all the old acquaintances from that school. She often longed for her old teachers in the new school. She was completely lonely. The tragedy, the fire that had broken out in her house had reduced her house to ashes. And then she had to shift along with her mother to her grandmother's house. Next day, when the author had to go to school, and she was wearing the previous day's clothes, and that she looked very weird because she didn't have the school uniform. All the clothes, all her books and bag were burnt in the fire, and so she was lost with nothing. She was having nothing. She had to borrow the shoes, so she went to school in a very awkward dress, and she felt embarrassed. The news of the fire spread everywhere in the school. The people, the teachers, the students came to know all about the tragedy. They all contributed according to their ability and were able to buy new clothes, bag, and books, as well as the school, supplies. So they were able to help the narrator. The selfless love of the, new comrades, new friends, and concern of the people over there touched the heart of the narrator. Soon she had many friends at the new school. She still missed her pet, the cat. She loved her cat. And after the months, after several months, she and her friends were just overseeing the reconstruction of her house. A lady came along with a dog, and along with a cat. A lady came along with a cat. That was the author's cat. She gave this cat back to the author. The author was very happy. She was very delighted to get her pet back. The feeling of loss and tragedy had completely gone. So this story also suggests that if we have the love and compassion of our friends and relatives and our family members, we can really feel the presence of our home. A house cannot make us happy. House is simply a construction, of wall and rooms, that is for habitation. But a home is the place where there is love and affection. There is a sense of togetherness. There is a sense of longingness, and there is sense of sharing, even in the sorrows and pain. So the narrator, the author, wants to emphasize on one important fact, that simply building or habitation cannot make us the feeling of home. The real home is the love and affection and the togetherness of our family members. If we are all together, if we share the love and affection, if we are standing by the side of our friends and relatives, at the in the hour of difficulty, in the hour of distress, we are really feeling the presence of home. Presence of
Home.
some questions, 2 or 3 questions. Asks her, what does the author notice one day afternoon, and what is her mother's reaction? What does she see? What does she do then? One day afternoon, while the author was sitting and doing her homework at the dining table, she saw a smoke pouring in the sky, and she noticed that through the sinks of her ceilings, some smokes were pouring inside the room. Inside the
Room.
Perhaps a fire had broken out and the room was filled with, smoke, and soon she saw that the entire room was engulfed in the smoke. The family got out onto the front yard. Her mother ran out with a small box that was full of important documents. She ran back again, probably to rescue the pictures of her dead husband. As for the author, she ran to the neighbor's house to request them to call for the fire department. Second question: what does she break down? Why does she break down break down in tears after the fire? The author broke down in tears after the fire because she had been quite lonely after the fire had reduced her house to ashes. She felt herself quite lonely, and she also burst into tears because she had lost her dear pet, the kitten. The cat was missing. The cat was
Missing.
so she could experience the unfortunate fire, the loneliness, and the absence of her dear pet, the cat, the sorrow of seeing her house being reduced to ashes, and the uncertainty of the future made her completely sorrowful. She burst into tears as she could not control her bursting emotions anymore. And the last question of the day, that is, who provided immediate financial help? When the narrator and her mother were shifted to her grandmother's house, it was her grandmother who provided support. All her credit cards and all her cash were burnt into the fire. So now she was left with no cash, neither any credit card. She could not withdraw money from the bank in absence of the identity, proof of identity. So she was in a great, despair. But thanks to the help of her grandparents, she finally was rescued financially, emotionally, and physically by her grandparents. So who helped her? Tell me. Her grandparents.
Yes, sir.
In absence of any cash and credit cards, it was her grandparents who really helped her financially, emotionally, and physically. And this is the last question. Justify the title, A House is Not a Home. The title is well justified because we see that a house is made of bricks and wall. Bricks and
Walls.
but a home is the place where we stay permanently with our beloved ones. We share and care our feelings. We especially feel a kind of happiness. We also share some sort of sorrow in the time of distress. We also bind and remain together emotionally in the hour of difficulty. So, in the entire story, we find that when the house of the narrator was burned, she was left in loneliness. But thanks to the rescue provided by the grandparents, they, came to her rescue. They loved the narrator's mother and the narrator. They provided the support. The school authorities, the teachers, and the friends of the narrator also provided her, compassion and love, support and empathy. So they say the empathy and compassion
The empathy and compassion
and the support
and the support
provided by her friends
provided by her
and
friends
neighbors
and neighbors
and teachers
and teachers
really
really
worked as
worked as
wonders and
wonders,
made the narrator
made the
feel a
narrator
sense of
feel a sense of
home,
home.
because home is the place where
The
we really live with love and affection. Love and
affection.
she couldn't feel the loss of anything when her friends and teachers came to, help her. And they all brought whatever they could bring. They supported her in her loneliness. And that is why we call that a home is really not only the structure of brick and wall, it is more than that. It is the love and affection and empathy of our friends and relatives that makes our house home. Say like that. It is the love and affection
It is the love and affection
and the empathy of
and the empathy of
our friends and relatives,
our friends and relatives,
teachers and neighbors,
teachers and neighbors,
and all our loved ones
all our loved
that
ones
makes our house
that makes our house
a home.
a home.
Thus, this story
Thus, the
has the title
has the title
A House is Not a Home,
House is not a home
is apt
is apt
and well justified.
well justified.
Thank you very much.